Benny, what episode is this?
29.
Episode 29 of the Real Talk Podcast. It's your host, Joey.
And Thomas.
And if you like what you're hearing, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Please comment. If you comment, TP will shout you out next episode.
Yeah. Anyone who comments that says TP shout me out, I'll shout them out.
Shout out Aunt Grace. One more time.
Once again, shout out my Aunt Grace.
Yo, busy day ahead.
Busy day. But it's like one of those good days.
Oh, I love it.
Like I woke up, sun was actually, I left my window open, so it was pretty cold. But
yeah, I think it's like surreal to me. Like I was driving here, I'm like, damn, like our jobs, right? We're going, filming a podcast, going to help the soup kitchen and film content there, then go shoot a real estate thing for Corey, shoot internal content while we're shooting for Corey, meeting with people in the community. It's crazy.
it's Good Friday.
Good.
It's a good way to cap off the week for sure.
Good Friday.
And this is definitely a great episode to cap off the week as well.
And start the day as well.
Exactly. I like this.
Yeah. So,
I like these early.
who do we got on today, TP? Tell me.
Today, we have on CJ Hendricks. CJ is the new athletic director at South Brunswick High School. He has been taking high school athletics to a whole nother level. CJ has been incorporating content and also creating other opportunities for students and alumni as well that will only help grow what he is already doing. You may have also seen him on one of your favorite game shows back in the day. Ladies and gentlemen, CJ Hendricks.
Woo! Yes, sir.
Sir. How's it going, sir?
What's going on?
Right. Repping the South Brunswick. I love it. I love it. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Blessed.
Yeah.
You know, it's just another day to get after it. So, 100%. Big South Brunswick guys.
Big South Brunswick.
We had some South Brunswick heads on here before.
Yeah, South Brunswick supportive.
Yeah.
We support our own.
Our communities.
Yeah, exactly. Joe's a Bridgewater guy. Yeah, so.
Panther. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
South Brunswick do anything with Bridgewater sports-wise anymore?
We play in a couple of sports. We try and pick up games around Mercer County, Monmouth, like Somerset. So we bounce around a little bit. They're a big school district like us, so they're pretty comparable in terms of competitive level. Mm-hmm. You know, they're always pretty strong. So yeah, we mix it up with them every now and again.
100%. So what sort of originally got you into even on the path to end up where you are today? Was it just playing baseball as a kid? Where did that sort of start off for you?
Well, I've always kind of really been involved with sports and really engaged in activity. So, as a kid playing sports growing up, I knew I wanted to be a PE teacher when I was in 8th grade. And so I had a really good experience with the teachers that I had, and it was fun. I was like, you get paid to do this. And so I kind of cling to that, and I started to do my research. And, when kids are talking about going to school to be an engineer or to go to law school or go and be a doctor, I kind of took the route of, I'm going to see what this teaching thing is about. I had educators in my family. And so for me, it was, I was intrigued to find out if this is a career path that I want to take. So I started doing my homework. I started, coaching, volunteering with rec programs. I was playing myself at the time, basketball and baseball. And then eventually how that kind of, moved into just me looking for the best program for me to start my career. So I graduated from Lawrence High School. Went to Wesley College down in Dover, Delaware, got my degree, did my master's program at CCNJ in sports administration and management, and really, just surrounded myself with people who knew what they were talking about. When you're around a certain field, you kind of get who gets it. Mm-hmm. And so I would kind of seek those people out and just be a sponge. And I didn't think I was going to end up in administration, to be honest with you. I just kind of was happy with the idea that I was going to teach and coach the rest of my life for the next 30 years. But I always did say I kind of work in 5-year plans. I've done that since I was in high school. This is year 1, year 5, where do I want to be? And I've done that through college. I did that once I got out of college. And I said halfway through my time in education was about 15 years.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to make sure that I'm pushing myself to do something different. And, I've been fortunate enough to, again, surround myself with really good leaders, learn a lot, taking a lot of game. And like I said, just be a sponge. So it's my 18th year in education. Okay. So after year 16, I'd got everything I needed to align myself with the next gig. And I was able to, get around our athletic director, who's Miss Elaine McGrath, who was a huge mentor for me and a trailblazer in the athletic administration world. So she kind of saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
My principal that I was working for at the time had the same kind of sentiment. And I just said, I'm going to give this a go, and I was happy with my time teaching and coaching. And I do miss it. I do miss being in the classroom every day, like engaging with kids on a day-to-day basis. I do miss being out there on the field coaching, because that's just kind of like, it brings you back to when you're 5, just loving that fire and like that desire to compete. But now I get to be involved with all our programs, you know, and South Brunswick has been very good to me. As you can see, I always swag that in my gear. But it's a great place, and I'm happy to be part of the process for the future.
When did you know that you were in love with teaching? Like, what was that moment you're like, oh, damn, I love this shit. I'm going to go all in.
I'm going to say 7th grade. 7th grade, I had a really good experience. Like, I always had pretty good teachers, you know, and I say it's like coaching. Sometimes you have good teachers, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have good coaches, sometimes you don't. Good bosses, sometimes you don't. So, like, it's the ebb and flow of just life. So you have to learn how to handle and deal with both. But at 7th and 8th grade, you know, I taught middle school for 16 years, and it's a very awkward and uncomfortable space and time period for most kids.
Yeah.
And so, especially in the gym, for kids who aren't athletically in tune. So, so for me, I was able to see how well my teachers kind of connected with kids. And I was like, man, like, this is like really cool. Like, I could like talk to my teacher or my coach like on like a real like kind of level, and they didn't look at me as like a little kid. They looked at me as someone who like saw potential or was interested, and they kind of helped me fuel that. So I'd say like 7th and 8th grade, I was like, man, like, I like this teaching thing. And again, having educators in my family, people that were, you know, my grandparents, you know, my grandma's from Puerto Rico, my grandfather's from Virginia, and so they met when he was in the Navy, and they had 7 kids on like a postman salary. Like, my grandmother would stay home and just like make sure the house was good. And every one of those 7 kids went to college, like the first in like our family generation. So like, they set an expectation in education. Like, you go to school, you get your degree, whatever you decide to do, you push and you be the best that you can be. And then they instill that in their children. You know, there's 13 grandchildren out of those 7 kids. So all of us went to college and pursued that route. And so education has always been a really big piece of my family. Like you don't take it for granted. You appreciate the fact that you have it, because many people don't. And so I'd say I like at that young age, and it just kind of kickstarted from there. But I've always been in an environment that fostered the importance of education and learning and pushing forward.
So in the role that you're in now, like, I mean, I kind of see you behind the scenes at times when I come out. So for those who don't know, I used to go to South Brunswick High School, and when you were becoming athletic director, you let me know you were becoming athletic director and said you might be getting a phone call down the line. But now I work together every season. I'll go in, film games and stuff, create a amazing video for the athletic department.
So for people who don't know, what does an athletic director do? Like, I have no idea.
So athletic administrators, and you could be a director, you could be a supervisor. It really depends on how the district labels you. But you know, I always say you're a manager of people. Like, education, you're in the people business. I tell people that all the time. Like, we're not like corporate where we're by the numbers, and there's a numbers component to it, but like, we're in the people business. And so in education-based athletics, which is what we really stress in South Brunswick, because we want student athletes. I don't want just kids that are good at sports, because they could be great at sports and not do their job in the classroom and not be eligible to play sports. So, you know, you're managing facilities, you're balancing budget, you know, year to year. We work, you know, we try and make sure we're funding all our programs. You work with Title IX to make sure that you're giving equity to both male and female sports. You're looking at, you know, setting up schedules for our sports teams. You are doing fundraising. You're trying to find, community connections and community outreach to make sure that, you know, your development levels, whether it's the rec program, travel, is feeding into your middle school and high school program. So, you know, it's a lot of like just day-to-day management. You know, I'm dealing with coaches, I'm dealing with student athletes, I'm dealing with parents, I'm dealing with other administrators. So it really is just like managing people and like helping those people, like those really important pieces, you know, put together a great product. Like, I'm very fortunate to have a really good support staff. Like, my secretaries that I work with, my coaches are great, my custodians, grounds guys, athletic trainers, nurses. It really is a team effort. And that's what I kind of learned from my predecessor, is that you got to make sure everybody's in tune and everybody's involved in the process, because, you know, if you're not all pulling on the same rope in the same direction at the same time, you're not going to get the result that you want. So it's a lot. I would say, if someone asks like, what is being athletic? It's a lot.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question.
You know, you think you just show up to go and watch games and that's it. You know, like, that's the fun part.
Exactly. And I think that's what, like, you always hear of, like, the athletic directors getting like just getting all the shit at the end of the day. Like, oh, like, this didn't happen, well, go to the athletic director, this and that. But like, when you realize, like, there's a whole, like, you put anyone in that position. Like,
it is.
It takes a special person to be able to handle all that pressure coming from all different angles. But you're not just like building yourself up and the other adults around you, like your secretary, like you're also making sure that there's students that are kind of able to see what that looks like as well, so they can get an idea. And I know you kind of had a right hand through the fall, winter season. What was that for you, like opening the gates almost, that to show that students can do something like this too?
Well, first you have to listen. You got to be in tune with what's going on. I think that's in anything that you do, whether it's corporate, whether it's education or anything. You have to keep your ear to the street. You have to kind of be where your feet are, and you got to know kind of what's going on and what's what. So for me, I remember just listening. Like my biggest thing is, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Like you're supposed to listen to more of what's going on. Sometimes the loudest person in the room is probably the least smart because they're just kind of going and going. Sit back, listen, take in what's going on, and maybe you'll soak up some game that might help you to get where you want to be. And so for me, I just was listening to students. As a coach, I would listen to what students want to do. And a lot of things that we're doing with the athletic department now, I did with our baseball program. We used to do Harlem Shake videos, on a fun team day practice, or do the, what was it? The Ray Shremmer. What was that?
Where they're mannequins.
All the mannequin challenges. We used to do stuff like that because for me, it can't just be about sports. It has to be more than that. For me, my favorite part about working with student athletes is when they come back. When they're there, it's great because that's their job, to come in, be a student, play sports, get engaged, be connected to the school community. But I love the idea of them coming back. That was my favorite as a coach. When I see alumni standing behind the outfield fence, coming off a work shift, or they were home for the holidays, whatever it was, done with college. So getting that connection is super important. And the only way you get connected is by listening to what the kids want to do. I mean, Thomas had alluded to it. When I first was in line to become the AD, my biggest thing was I need to make sure I have the right people around me. I want a good team. Again, I have a great support staff, but connecting with alumni like Thomas that I know does great work. He was already doing work with our athletes prior. So for me, I'm paying attention to all that stuff. I'm seeing our kids' social media accounts, how they're doing their highlight videos, how they're, doing a day in the life. You know what I mean? All those fun things, they love it. They eat it up and they want more of it. So for me, it was listening to what they wanted, whether it's putting together a media day, putting together a highlight video, covering just games like a senior day game. Those are things that they want to see because their life is right here. Everything that they have is through, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and it's not my age, everybody's on Facebook, sharing pictures of the kids. It's not for those kids aren't doing it. So it's different. And finding ways to highlight our kids, because we have a very special district. We do a lot of great things, not just on the sports field, in the classroom, but out in the community. And it's important for us to highlight that. We shouldn't be the only ones knowing how good a job we're doing. Everybody should know. Because hopefully what we're doing is inspiring another district, maybe another athletic program to do more. So I'm super proud to share the work that Thomas has done with us. I'm super proud to share a lot of the work. This year, I developed an independent study for a senior or a student in the building to shadow me and learn what it means to be in athletic administration, sports management, and marketing. And, our intern this year, Jana, has done a phenomenal job. She covers games. She puts a little tweaks in it, and I give her the creative freedom to just go.
Oh, she's outstanding.
Just
she's
go.
Outstanding.
Because when you and go with the understanding of hey, you got to be mindful of X, Y, and Z. But I'm a big believer, and you got to let people just learn how to figure it out. And if you try a great line that I got from one of my secretaries, and it always sticks with me now as a parent, is you prepare your kids for the road, not the road for your kids. You can't manipulate what goes on. I can't stop every car from stopping before they cross the street. They got to figure out how to navigate life. And so that's what we try and do with Jana. That's what we try and do with our student athletes. At the end of the day, when the coaches are gone, the teachers are gone, that's gonna determine who you really become, what you put into it and how much you want, the passion that you exude into the things that you desire. So that's really the biggest thing. I want to highlight the great things that our kids do. And by partnering with people like Thomas, by bringing kids in like Jana, I think it helps us, show that we care, we're listening, and we're looking to do this. I don't want to flatline and just stay like this forever. I want to just make sure we're always taking steps in a positive direction.
With affecting so many different lives between the students, the people that are working there, the grounds people, what kind of goes into your decision-making process when you know that decisions that be making an impact on everyone's lives?
Mm-hmm. You're not going to make everyone happy every day. That's a reality you have to live with. And and I always say in our program, we do what's best for kids. That's what drives my motivation. It's not what's best for me, what's best for the other adults. It's what is best for our kids. If it's going to give a kid an opportunity to do something, then why not do it? Why not give it a shot? And there are times, listen, we fall and we make mistakes. Like I've made them. I've only been doing this for 2 years. And so I know mistakes are going to come, but it's how, like anything else, it's how you learn from those mistakes and how you adapt. So my motivation and my driving force is how do we do things that are going to help kids have a great experience? I don't really care about the wins and losses. We've won a lot. Thomas knows. There's banners all over the place, and we've had great programs. Our track team just won GMC relays, which was awesome, both boys and girls. But it's not so much the trophy or the medals. It's like the experience that those kids had, that feeling that they had. Like we always, one of our taglines is Forever Vikings. Like I want them to always feel like, one, they can come home, one, they always feel welcome, and one, they feel like supported and heard. So, as an athletic administrator, like that's my job. Like my job is to make sure their 4 years here is an experience that they're excited to go to college or go out into the workforce and brag about and talk about. Like, you guys didn't do this, so we did that. Like that's really what I get excited about. So doing things like a Hall of Fame, doing things like community days. We're getting ready to do like a golf outing, and we're working with Mohammed Sanu, who's an alumni of ours, to do a youth football camp that he does every year. We're trying to just make it something that kids are proud to be part of. And I already have 2 or 3 kids that want to be interns next year. So I always told Jana, like, you're the first, but your job is to influence somebody else to want to do what you're doing at another level. And so that's what we're trying to continue to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I always said, like, I say, like, anyone's allowed to shadow me. Like, any student has interest in what they do. Like, if I can't put in the time to have a position at a place to be there, like, full-time, part-time, at least, like, when I am there, to just kind of carry on that sort of ideology of the next kid up, like, just from standing next to you for a day, just seeing what you do, like, that can end up, like, changing their lives. They could see something in that and be like, oh, it's possible, it's doable. Like, this person came from South Brunswick. Like, I think that's a big thing. Like, I feel like this year it's been so many Vikings coming back and kind of feeling comfortable to come back again and kind of be around the grounds and visit and go to games again. Like, I think this year, like, I've been around South Brunswick, even though I wasn't doing work, like, just always, being around with Dante and everything. And you'd be at games and there would be, it's always Viking energy, but there's something different this year in particular to where it really feels like that Forever Vikings is really being, like, really implemented in the whole program. But not even just that, like, just like you spoke a little, like, off camera, like the branding of, like, South Brunswick almost. Like, is it, like, what's kind of your idea on, like, enhancing that over time and not just kind of sticking with the same logos and the same designs of things, or even just when creating, like, wanting to put together content? Like, what's your idea behind all that?
To be honest with you, I just feel like everything, if you're staying, and I said just now, like, if you're staying like this, like, there's no growth there. Like, you're just being complacent. You're okay. You're comfortable. And, it's one of those things I would say, like, you have to decide whether you want to be comfortable or you want to be courageous. Like, you have to make that decision. I can sit here and just keep doing my stuff status quo and nobody bothers me and walk the line, but there's no fun in that. Like, there's no growth. There's no drive to make me want to come back and be better the next day. So when it comes to the branding piece, like, we started doing this with our baseball program a while ago. Like, I always saw, like, man, this logo is just like blah. Like, it's our logo, but it's just like, it needs like a facelift. Like, it needs like something to, like, tune it up. So one of the things that I want to do when I came in was I want to redo our logo. I want to create a female logo that, like, the girls can be proud of. I want to, find ways to make sure that, like, when our kids are walking around the community, they're proud to wear their gear. I would always joke, and Dante would say it too, like, baseball's always got, like, the best gear. I was like, well, that's because the coach is the swaggiest coach here. So, like, that's it. But, like, that's a big piece. Like, kids, it's like the Dion line. Like, you look good, you play good, you feel good, all that. Like, and I think that's an important piece. Like, I'm listening. Like, when kids are like, Coach, we should have, like, these hoodies, or we should, like, have this set up. Like, let's do it. Why not? Let's figure it. Worst case, it doesn't work. Oh, well, we go back to the drawing board, we try something different. But, like, you want to give kids the creative freedom to build and develop and create, like,
and show that you care about what they're thinking as well.
1000%. And like, to your point of more Vikings coming back, I think a big piece of it is that we're making it more accessible to, like, access our sports. you know, and you know, we're inviting people, like we're saying, come to homecoming, come to the, you know, state championship basketball game, or come to watch us play in the GMCs or in the autism awareness tournament. We're just getting the word out more. And I think obviously social media helps with that, because no matter where you are, you're in Europe, you're in Japan, you're in California, if you're following us on social media, you're in the know of what's going on. We had a Hall of Fame inductee. We couldn't get her out here because she was working in Holland. The only way we found her was because she found our social media, and we were able to connect with her in some way, and her family was able to receive her award. But that's how we stay connected. The kids, they get it. Like, again, they know how to make this thing work and how to increase brand awareness and kind of pop in a lot of ways. And so we're not really like looking to just like be the next viral thing. Like, we don't try and do that stuff. We just try and do stuff like, hey, I'm going to walk up to a teacher, I'm going to interview, yeah, what was your favorite song in high school? You know, we do TikToks like that. Or we do like, you know, which teammate would you not want your sister to date? You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff that like the kids enjoy. Like, it's not like directly towards athletics, but it's something to keep them engaged and excited 100%. To come.
I love you do a segment where you'll like walk.
Oh, 94 feet.
94 feet. So like whether it's a hockey coach, track coach, basketball coach, if it's a basketball, they'll walk down the entire basketball court, and we'll just ask them
just random questions.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire questions.
Just random questions, get to know. But I think it's good because, like, I mean, as a student athlete back in the day, I'm not like asking my coach, like, hey, coach, what's your favorite food? Like, no, he's going to tell me get on the line and go run. But, like, seeing your, like, for the athletes, like, it makes for more fun environment, more like personable environment. That, like,
well, the kids like it, and it's funny because now I'm going to my AD meetings with other athletic directors, and they're all like, oh, I just love the 94 feet draft. And I was like, and we're just doing different things. Like, I got the idea, all credit to Jay Billis, who's an ESPN basketball analyst. I saw him doing it, and we actually added him the first video that we did, but it was just like, I thought that was cool. I thought, like, he's doing that with college kids. Like, why can't we do? And a lot of things that we model, going back to branding, is I look at colleges. Like, I look at college. Like, we revamped our college, our athletic website to model one that like a college one looks like. You know, you look at your Princetons or you look at your Villanovas or your Rutgers, and you want to say like, oh, like, how do we make ours look like this? Like, why can't it? You know, we have almost 3,000 kids in the school. Our campus looks like a small college campus, as big as it is. So, like, why are we aligning? So it comes with doing the 94 feet, you know, segments. It's we create a Viking app. So now the kids have an app they can get, like, all one-stop shop for everything you need for athletics, a brand new website. Again, doing our media projects. You know, we just dropped a podcast of ourselves, which was like our We Are Vikings podcast, where it was just me sitting down with a person in our athletic department saying, like, tell me your story. Like, how did you get to South Brunswick? And the kids and the staff are starting to be like, I did not know that about. Like, you would never know, because when you're in a big school, you get lost. And my goal, not just in athletics, but within our school community, is to find a way for us to find each other. You know, I think one of the toughest things that you see in high school amongst kids, especially coming off of COVID, is finding their connections and their own self-identity, like, in others. Like, you and I might be old, like, Pokemon heads, like, used to trade Pokemon cards, and I would never have known that unless, like, unless I had a conversation, unless I sat next to you in a cafeteria, or, like, saw you wearing, like, a vintage Pokemon t-shirt, like, yo, that's a dope t-shirt, like, you doing a Pokemon, or just seeing each other wear each other's sports. Like, I may not know a swimmer in my school because there's so many kids until I see them wearing a swim t-shirt, like, oh, how was the meet yesterday? Or how was the wrestling match? So I think trying to find a way for us to connect more, because for me, a big piece of how communities grow is by getting to know your neighbors. If you don't know who lives next to you, if you don't know your teammates well, if you don't know the kids in your class, then how are you growing in terms of getting to know and, you know, becoming more diverse-minded? And how are we preparing you for the real world if you don't know how to connect with the people in your own town? Now you go to college across the country or down the road, or you get a job in another country, like, how are you going to learn how to connect? And so a big piece of what we're doing with the brand is trying to get kids to understand, like, we're a community, like, we are Vikings, like, and we take care of each other. When we're in this building, we're on the field. I tell my players all the time, when you're at a party, like, if you see an athlete doing what they're supposed to be doing, like, you get them in line. Like, you make sure they understand they represent us outside of this campus. So that's a big piece within itself, you know. But I think that, you know, to your point, it's a sense of pride. Like, you got to be proud of who you are, but it comes with knowing who you are. Like, I don't really know who I was until I left high school. I feel like I learned who I really was when I went to college, and I was forced to meet new people and learn about, you know, people from all over the country. And I encourage kids to do the same. Like, just be open. You know, there's someone in this world for everybody.
Yeah.
Like there truly is. You just have to figure out a way to find them, or allow them to find you.
Yeah, it really seems like you're just putting the tools in place to allow the walls to just like come down between like different groups, whether it's like the swimmers and the basketball players. Like you're creating an avenue that there is a chance that they could all be, whether it's friends or go support each other's own events. So I know you said, like, at least for the website, like you were looking at colleges and saying like, well, why can't ours look like that? Was there, because I feel like this is like rare to sit down with an athletic director and they're speaking about things like this so proactively. Like, was there, other than like Elaine McGrath, who came before you, was there another athletic program, high school or whether it was college, that you sort of saw that was kind of doing things like this? Or was it just over time you were just listening to your own community?
Well, it's funny because, we got good things and bad things from COVID. And one thing that I got was it forced me to slow down a little bit. It allowed me to look at research and look at other resources. So really during COVID, I just sat there and I would just look at other high school athletic programs, other college athletic programs. I would watch, we have this thing called AD Insider where you're able to get information about other athletic departments, like what they're doing in Texas, what they're doing in Ohio, what they're doing in California. And I really just say to myself, if they're doing it there, why can't we do it here? And that's really what I did. I just tried to educate myself on it. When I get into something, I'm all in, let's go. I always say I'm full ass. I'm never half assed.
Full ass. We need to make that into a t-shirt.
Ass out.
If you're gonna do anything half assed, you're already in your mind shorting yourself from what potentially could be even better. So in my eyes, I look at it in that scope. And listen, I've gone full throttle and fallen on my face, but I learned from that mistake or that experience how I can maybe dial it back to make it work. You can't force a circle through a square. Like they say, you have to make sure you find something that fits. And again, I pushed our board, our district leadership, and I said, listen, this is what I think we need. I know it doesn't seem like much, or I know it may cost a little bit of money, but this is something that is a point of pride for us. People can go to our athletic website and be like, oh, wow, look at this. What are we doing with ours? Oh, wow, they have an app. Oh, wow, they're doing highlight videos. They're doing segments. They're doing media projects. A big piece, you alluded to it earlier was, we should have a sports media division of our tech program, and I'm working with our tech supervisor to be like, hey, how do we get this off the ground?
Yeah.
Because it's more than just being in front of the camera. It's who's behind the camera, who's on the crew, who's learning how to work sound, who's learning how to work videography, all that stuff. There's so many pieces to it. People just think it's the people that stand with the microphone and talk. It's not that. You guys know it from what you do every day. There's a lot that goes into it. So I want to educate kids early because I want my students to go to college with an already established Rolodex of resources and the right mindset that I can do this. I don't need so much. I just need a little bit of direction, maybe a little bit of push, maybe a couple more pieces of equipment that I can't afford myself. But we have to make sure we educate our kids and know they can do these things. And it's really about how they want to push themselves and what they want out of it.
100%.
I kind of want to circle back to, I remember earlier in the conversation, you talked about chucking your life into 5-year kind of segments. Why do you do that? And what was the kind of philosophy behind that?
You know what? People say trust the process, it's a trendy thing to say, but I feel like everything that you do takes time and nothing is right away. I think the old saying is it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So for me, it's you put in the work to eventually get to a goal. And if you want that, if the goal is big enough, it's going to take time. So I learned that even as a freshman in high school. I said, listen, my goal in 5 years is to play, get on a college baseball team. So from freshman year on, I would play JV. I would move up to varsity. I would play these travel teams, whatever it was. And every year was I'm setting a goal to try and get to where I want to be. And then by my senior year 4, I was all right, now this is my push to get where I want. And I ended up playing college baseball. And then from there, I said, from 5 years from now, I want to be a teacher. I want to be teaching and coaching somewhere. Boom, you go down the line. 5 years later, all the things you need to do, get into grad school, all that. So I think the mindset of it all is understand that things aren't going to come right away. And there's a lot that comes with the success that you eventually want. And I tell people, it doesn't have to be a 5-year plan. It could be a 2-year plan. It could be a 1 year. It really determines, it depends on the goal that you're trying to reach. So I don't know. I got in that mindset. It worked. The first 5 years it worked. And so Then the next 5 years it worked, and then I just kind of stuck to that philosophy.
Yeah, and I think like if you're looking too far out, like 10 years in advance, it's harder to make a smaller micro movement towards that, right? Because it seems so grand.
Well, how do you gauge the success? How do you gauge if it's working, if it's that far down the road?
Exactly. And then I kind of want to touch on before we hit rapid fire, with like so much media going on with like the kids and everything, how do you find that balance, right? Because they're always on their phones, you're promoting all the social stuff. Like there's got to be like a point where like, damn, like we need to put the phones down, or like to take a break from social for a minute. Is there like any insight to that?
I'm going to say first, no. They don't ever put their phones down. They don't ever want to stop. They always want to keep going. But my job when I'm engaging with them is to try to keep that, to try to like slow them down. It's like I said earlier, COVID like slowed me down. I got to focus on my family. I got to focus on the things that are important. I wasn't like, you know, I talked to my wife, and it's almost like there's times where you're like ships passing in the night. Like she's on one shift, I'm on another. She's got the kids now, I got the kids later. And, you know, luckily for me, when I talk to kids, I try and tell them like, one, every day when someone looks at you and says good morning, you should have the decency to look up at them and say good morning back or hello. And so I stop kids. Like if a kid's on their phone, I say good morning. Like I say, oh, how you doing?
Yeah.
You good? And because you never know what kind of day someone's having. You never know like what's going on in someone's life. So I think when you slow things down and you separate yourself from the social media piece of it, you're able to see the humanity in people. You're able to have those real conversations. So again, a beauty of my predecessor that she always had her door open, and that was a philosophy that I loved. Like as a coach, as a student, as a staff member, whatever it was, that door was always open. So when you come into my office, like we're sitting, we're having conversation. I'm making you sit in the chair, looking at me. I'm not distracted. You're not distracted. And I want you to know that I'm here to hear what you have to say, you know? So I do that in the hallway. I try and make sure I do that, you know, if I see a kid who had a good game, or I pull them on the side after a practice, be like, hey, I really like what you did. I say, hey, great job yesterday at the meet. You know, I think that goes a long way. I don't know if you guys have touched up on your show, but like I'm big in, my wife got me really big into like love languages and like, what's your love language? And what I've learned over time is that my love language is words of affirmation. So like, I like it when people tell me, hey, keep it up. I see what you're doing. So like, I want to make sure that's how I communicate my love for people. I say, hey, I love what you guys are doing. Like this platform that you guys have, like I've been following, I've been watching, like it's great what you guys are doing. I only see it continuing to get better. And those little pieces of information are my feelings to you, or to my students, or to my coaches and colleagues. I think it goes a long way, because maybe they're not getting that. Maybe people aren't telling them enough that they're doing a great job, or telling them that, hey, like we should probably slow down a little bit and like look at it this way. Yeah. So I think making sure people know that they feel heard, seen, supported is like the best thing that you can do to get people off of social media or slow them down and have those real conversations.
I was like, yeah, that's like a perfect take on it. I feel like COVID has been such a common, like
a pivotal moment in a lot of people's lives.
100%. Like everyone, what I've seen is explained it. Like it was a time where literally like the world stopped and everything was just put right in front of your face, and you were able to see, like I was able to see what from I was doing what I really loved from that, and then I was able to move on with, go forward with that. I mean, we've touched on this great program, but I kind of want to touch on a little, because we never spoke about it before, but you were on a game show one time.
I was.
Oh shit.
The Wall?
The Wall on NBC.
The Wall.
What's the premise of The Wall?
What was the premise of The Wall?
So I don't know if I'm dating you guys, but I'm certainly dating myself. But back in the day on Price is Right, there used to be Bob Barker, the original, the GOAT, used to have a game called Plinko.
I read that.
Where you would drop a disc on like a little wedge, like little maze, and then it would go down and you win a prize. So it's basically like Plinko on a grander stage with a three-story high Plinko board.
Yeah. And
then there's money at the bottom that you could win, but the only way you can earn money is if you answer questions correctly. So it's trivia and like a game of chance mixed into one. But it's a LeBron James and Mav Carter produced show. It was pitched to NBC, I want to say maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. I watched it because I thought the Plinko board was cool. My wife and I watched the first episode, and I remember sitting in bed with her, and she goes, you and your sister would be, because they put you in pairs. It's two people. It's either usually a husband and wife, or brother, sister, or two siblings, whatever it is. And she said, oh man, you and your sister would be great on the show. And, you know, I'd laugh about it. And we watch, episodes like here and there. And then maybe a year, like my wife joked and was like, I'm going to apply for you guys. And so she did. And I think maybe like after season 2, we got a call to send in a video, like an audition video, just like introducing them to us and like what we're about. Yeah. So we sent it in. no word back. We received it. And then, you know, leading up into like right before COVID, it was their third season they had just completed. And we got a call from a producer and our casting director, and they were just like, could you update us on how you're doing? I was like, all right, sure. We did another video, sent it in. They liked it. And basically we started the process, but like, it wasn't like something I sought out. It was like my wife just like applied for us. And
what's that process even look like?
Well, one, you apply through NBC, and then pretty much you just wait. Like, you get the audition and you wait to hear what they say, and you go through the process of screening where, you know, they do like, I'm sure, like a background check. They give you information. They do an interview. At that point, it was all Zoom. So you're meeting with casting directors, with producers, you're answering questions, you're doing just like a face-to-face. I always almost felt like a confessional, like old MTV Real World. Like, it was like that type of vibe, especially with Zoom. You got to take a trivia test. They try and see if you're even good at trivia, because they've had people have gone on there and stunk. But there's like a large group of people that I think they said they have over like, I don't know, 1,200 applicants that come in. They get it down to like whatever number, then it gets down to like your 30. So I think before, in the middle of COVID, like that Thanksgiving, we got a call like the day before, and they were like, oh, we're going to fly you out to LA and you guys are going to film. And so you don't know if you're going to air. You only, you know if you're going to air unless you see it, like they contact you and tell you. So we went out there in December. It was very fast. And it's crazy how Hollywood works, man, because, you know, I'm looking on like, oh, I can't find a flight here. They can find a flight. And it's like, if they want something done, they're going to get you out there. I mean, it was literally like, COVID was a little bit loose around that December time, because you could like go out to places, you know, with a mask on, all that. And I remember I always tell people, like, I left Newark Airport when we flew. My sister at the time was in Atlanta, so we met out there, and they said, you know, we need you out here in 2 weeks. I got a call the next day. We need you out here in 2 days. Can you leave tomorrow? So I had to go through the process of letting my superintendent know, my principal, like, I got to leave. But at that point, everything was remote. I didn't have to go into work. So when we flew out, LA County was open. I was ready to watch the Giants play the Seahawks at some like local bar, like never been out to LA, never been to California. And I landed in LA, and the governor shut down LA County. It was like ghost town, like only cars that were like picking people from the airport, taking them through. So we were in Burbank, and we're in a hotel room for 5 days, can't leave because they don't want anybody to get like COVID, testing every day. I mean, listen, the first day of like hanging out with my sister, like it was fun. It was like day two was like, all right, like we talking about the same stuff. We can't leave, so we're like door dashing or like getting stuff to the room. Day three, she was in the bathroom, I was in the regular common area, and we were just like had enough. Just like, yo, get us to here. And to be honest with you, like originally, like the way we had auditioned and rehearsed, like to prep for it, I was on stage. I was like the mock person on stage, and my sister was working trivia. So this whole time we're auditioning, I'm thinking I'm going to be the one on stage. She's going to be behind the scenes doing the trivia. And then literally like the night before we were filming, they flipped us. And so I know nothing, no trivia, like like bar trivia. Like you're you're doing like the games like with your wife or something. And she panicked because she wasn't like, she just got so like filled with anxiety. She's like, oh, I'm going to be on stage. Like it's a whole different thing. Like if you watch a show, like if you're answering the questions, you're in a room by yourself, like out in the middle of nowhere, while the other person's like putting on a show, like you're the ringmaster. And so luckily, Brittany, my sister, she's just so charismatic. Like she's just such like a personable like chick. Like she's always been that way. I think it comes from like her experience at Spelman in Atlanta. Like she's a Delta. She's just like she's just always got that energy. She brings like the greatness out of people. And so for her to be on stage, I think it worked out best for us. I didn't know how well I did. And I didn't see, what people don't realize, I didn't see the show until it aired. Like what everybody else saw the night it aired was the same thing that I saw for the first time. Brittany experienced it because she was on the stage, but it was so cool, man. It was crazy to see. And again, stuff like, you know, production and any media, the amount of people who are on a set to put together a show is unreal. Like, and now I have a greater appreciation, like when shows or movies end, to like literally watch the credits and see how many people had a part in putting that together. I mean, we filmed for almost 4 hours that day just for a 42-minute show. Like, so it's a lot. Like people think that it was all like you were in and out. Nah, like we were there from 8 a.m. until like 1 a.m. Because we were the last show of the day. There were 4 groups and we were the last one. So the game show was great. It was a great experience. I always tell people like, oh, like you won almost $1 million. Like I didn't. Uncle Sam got his cut. New Jersey taxes got a cut, and everything that was left over, I put in the kids, you know, so that they have the head start that I didn't have, you know. So that was the goal. I'm still driving the same car, wearing the same clothes, doing the same things. And so for me, nothing's really changed. But
you also, like, you gave back with that money too, right?
yeah, we gave about 10-15% to organizations of my money, at least. My sister got half, I got half. And we donated to organizations that, you know, that mean something to us, that I was involved with prior to the show.
Yeah.
So that was a big piece. I mean, my grandparents were always people of service. My parents taught me, raised my sister and I to be people of service, and that's kind of what we're doing at South Brunswick High School as well. Is, you know, we created this thing called the Viking Cup, where it's staff first student games that we charge like students to attend or be part of. And all the money that we're raising is going to go to a local organization, the Mercer Tafara Foundation, who raises money for kids who are terminally ill or are going through either cancer or any heart conditions over here at the New Brunswick Hospital. So, you know, at the end of the school year, we have a trophy that we give to either the staff or the students. The staff's winning so far, which is great. But, you know, we're right above like $1,000 that we're going to donate for their programs for kids that need it, you know. So I want our kids to understand that it isn't, again, going back to, it's not just being a student, it's not just being an athlete. It's about being a person who serves and a person in the community, so they appreciate it and they continue to do that to pay it forward. Just like you were talking about before, paying it forward. Like, to have all the information is one thing, but if you don't share it, then you're not making the people around you or the next generation better.
Exactly. It's like selfish to just sit there and think like, oh, I worked hard to get this information. Like, that person's got to do the same. Like, nah, you can put that person in a much better position, and then they'll take that and work hard towards another piece of information that they can then go teach on to somebody else. It's like carrying that on. It really feels like you're just putting great energy out into the world, and in time, it's just coming back in these ways. So some ways you don't see it, some ways it's more in your face, but it really looks like it's just having such an impact on just the community. And honestly, in time, probably just like I can't even imagine, like nationwide almost. Like, I feel like that other departments and other athletes and other just people are just going to see what you're doing.
Other schools.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, that's the hope. And I think, you know, it's like a sports team or even being a teacher, like you want kids to buy in.
Yeah.
So once they buy in, you have them hooked, you have your teeth in them, then you can get them to like see the potential of what we're trying to create. And I think it's a big piece of it is not getting lost in the idea, well, I'm not getting this or I'm not getting that. Like, a big piece for me is getting fan involvement. Like, I want more fans at our games. Yeah. I don't want them at just football. I want them at basketball. I want them at ice hockey. I want them at lacrosse and baseball. But a big, again, one of my favorite lines to tell people is you have to focus on the people who are at the party, not the people who aren't. You know, that's a big thing. Like, I'm focusing on the people that are here in this room right now. I'm not focused on the people who are not in this room. When you're a team, like, if a kid's not at practice, I'm focused on the guys that showed up to practice, not the guys that aren't. Because when you do that, where's this person? Where's that? How come these kids aren't showing? I'm taking away from the kids that show up every single day to a basketball game or a volleyball game. I'm taking away from the people who show up to every meeting that I have to spark a new initiative or have a new idea. So, you know, I think that it goes along, and I think it works in the game of life too. Like, you got to focus on the people who are at the party, not the people who aren't. Because those people who showed up and brought the soda and the chips and gave you their time, those are the people you have to invest in. Those are your shareholders who then hopefully leave and go say, yo, you missed something. 100%. Like, you missed something that was really cool. Like, you got to make sure you're here next time. And so, I'm just trying to continue to build that culture.
When I filmed the hockey game this past season, I was telling these guys, I was like, I was the craziest high school kid I've ever watched in my life. Like, these kids were.
But you know what? To your point, those kids, like, I went to a number of hockey games this year, and we only, like, regular season games, that was senior night you were at. Regular season, they were like 5, maybe 10, then it grows to 12. And the guys, our kids who go as fans, who support their friends, were saying, like, how do we, like, Mr. Hendricks, like, how come, you know, we don't get a lot of people, and how come we don't do this? I was like, guys, how many followers do you have on social media? 45, 50? How come you're not focusing on those people who follow you? Like, get those people to come out. Like, don't worry about everybody coming.
Exactly.
This isn't for everybody. Yeah. You know, get the people who you want there. Get your friends, get your cousins, get your parents to come out. 100%. So what ends up happening is that little by little, again, like that 5-year plan, like, start small, little goals, win those small battles each day. And then eventually you have that. Now, that was a crazy hockey game. Like, it was over the top.
It was way over the top. I mean, like, I felt like I was at like a pro amateur thing.
It was something, but eventually it becomes that. Yeah. So you can't get stuck on like who's here. Like, those 5 kids, I appreciate them because they were dedicated to showing up and supporting that very, like, under-supported sport.
100%.
And so, you know, eventually it gets to that. And that's the goal, to eventually get to that.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I was filming the volleyball game. Dante texted me, I just got done with training. I'm at the high school. I didn't even tell him to come. He came, watched the rest of the volleyball game with me. Ezekiel Johnson was there watching the game because Danny was there watching the game. It's like we're this, like we see what's being done. So we're like, all right, like I want people to, if I'm at a game and I'm going to it, I want to bring someone that used to go to high school so they can just be back and like whatever it is. Like I want friends that maybe weren't as involved or played sports back in the day, but really weren't like, don't feel like, oh, I can't come back. Like, you can't.
Like it's that battle against like being nostalgic and being like supportive. Like, like there's a big like mindset of like, oh, like what are you doing back at your old high school? Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, it's like, but that's the point. The point is to always have a home base. Like when you're playing manhunt, there's a home base. Yeah. Everybody feels safe, that everybody feels good, like it's a spot you want to be. And that's what we're trying to make it. We're trying to make it a place where alumni are excited to come back. Yeah. Not like feeling like, oh, I don't want to have to go back there. I had this memory of that. Like have that experience, like, and then share those experiences to get more people out
100%.
Because there's such greatness to giving back to what molded and created you. Like there's such a rewarding feeling. And I'm not from South Brunswick. I didn't grow up in South Brunswick, but I've become so entrenched in the culture and the community that it feels like I've been here for a long time, longer than I've been. So to get those people who actually grew up here, born and raised, gone off, done great things, to come back, that's the win. Like that's the banner that should be up. Like the alumni that come back, the people that we continue to have, you know, be part of our program. So, you know, when you look at a guy like Thomas who comes back and does like our media projects, like the kids love it. When you have Dante who comes back and does training with our athletes, the kids love it. We just, you know, Muhammad, who played, you know, 11 years in the NFL, comes back and do his youth clinic or just shows up to see his family, loves it. We just had another NFL player just get drafted, Justin Shorter, who came back the week after getting drafted to speak with our football players at their morning leadership meeting. Like, those are the wins. And that's what every athletic administrator, every school principal, every superintendent should want happening in their districts. 100%. And so that's what we're trying to continue to foster.
If I was in middle school right now, I'd be stoked to go to South Brunswick High School.
We're starting them young too. We really are. I mean, I'm on like number 5 or 6. I go to elementary schools and I speak to the 5th graders about how awesome our middle school program is. At the end of the school year, I'm going to go sit with the 8th graders and meet with them and tell them how awesome athletics and extracurriculars are at the high school. So you got to start at those fundamental foundational levels. You got to get them in elementary school to be excited. You got to develop them in middle school, and you got to have them prepared to compete at the high school. Yeah. So that's our philosophy and how we go about it.
Rapid fire?
Rapid fire.
All right. We do a segment on our show where you just spit rapid fire questions at you.
All right.
All right. You want to go first?
I'll go first.
Go first.
Favorite travel destination?
Favorite travel destination was definitely Aruba with my wife for our wedding.
Most underrated sport?
Most underrated sport? I'm going to say ice hockey, man.
Favorite baseball team?
St. Louis Cardinals.
Best pizza place in South Brunswick?
Delizia.
Why the Cardinals?
So I hate this, it's not going to be rapid, but so I was originally, my mom is a Mets fan, so I was born as a Mets fan. My dad was a big Reggie Jackson fan. One of the few teams I got to see when he grew up in Puerto Rico was like the Oakland Athletics. So like he was an A's fan still to this day. I became an A's fan in that Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco era. Tony La Russa was their manager. He moved to St. Louis, who brought Mark McGwire with him. My high school was the Cardinals. They were the Cardinals. We wore the same gear. I was a big Cardinals fan from then on out.
That's awesome. You know what's funny? That all just went over Joe's head. He has no idea any of those names.
Are you like a Go Sports guy?
No.
Like, okay.
Yeah. God. Go Sports. Like I'll go to the games, you know, I'll chill, have a good time. But dude, it's just so time consuming. Yeah. Just to keep up with sports.
Yeah, he just lives.
I just make videos. That's literally all I do.
That's sports now.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how sports has developed media-wise. Like, it wasn't what we were 15, 20 years ago. Like, now, it is every major league team, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, has a TikTok, has an Instagram,
it's great.
has a media department. Yeah. So, like, you were
it's funny because we make content for sports teams, but I don't like watch the games.
Yeah, no.
Like, we did a shoot for, like, the Red Bulls one time, and I'm like, you know what I mean? It's cool that I think it's cool to have like Thomas when we go on sports shoots, who has like an eye for, you know, like sports and stuff, and then I have an eye for marketing, so it's like we can kind of
just me in the middle.
Exactly. So he's my consigliere when it comes to sports. He's like, yo, you watching this tonight? I'm like, problem. Maybe not.
That's funny. Content that you want to be doing in the future for South Brunswick.
I want to do more like behind the scenes type stuff, like a day in the life. I know you had done a video like that, or you've done work like that in the past, but like a day in the life, like, you know, wake up with one of our student athletes and see what their day looks like, follow them to class, like follow them to practice. Also get a greater idea of, like, you know, the philanthropy that we do, the community service that we do. I would love to get us to capture that in these community service projects, because our sports teams do so much. I think sports teams everywhere do a lot in athletic programs, but I want to highlight like those human core values that we stress and we push. I think those should be highlighted as much as a championship win or
we're huge on that. We think that those are that they should be at the forefront. Like
that's what we're going to do right after this.
Yeah,
literally.
I don't know if you ever heard of Elijah's Promise in New Brunswick. So
we're filming for them right after this.
Yeah, it's like once a quarter we'd like to kind of pick a foundation or something.
It's monthly now.
Yeah, that we can go and kind of just shine light on. We'll make a video for them, shine light on it. We'll also give back, volunteer our time. Awesome. And we did work for them, and they wanted to bring us back and kind of highlight the different categories in which they do. So we're doing like a cooking class that they did, and today we're going to the soup kitchen, kind of highlighting that.
Nice, man. That's important.
100%. What's one piece of advice you give your younger self?
Be you. You know, I think kids forget like how much value they have in themselves. I was just talking to students a couple weeks ago at one of our active clubs that we have, and I just said, like, be you. Like, no one should stop you from getting what you want. No one should stop you or be a roadblock in you achieving the goals that you have. Don't let the outside stuff, like we call the white noise, like, get in the way. Don't let teachers tell you that you can't do something, or don't let your counselor, or don't let your coach, don't let anybody get in the way of what you feel that you're passionate about. So you know, one line that I always say is, like, be somebody. Like, just go out there every day and just be somebody. Every day you wake up and you have a choice to be happy or unhappy. And it's the mindset you walk into. Like, when I tell people, you come into my office, have the right mindset, because if you don't, this ain't the place for you. So I think it comes from, like, being comfortable with yourself, being confident in your own skin, being happy with who you are. You know, some people have a rough go with that. Some people don't have great support systems at home, or don't have fortunate circumstances, or just can't figure it out, or can't get out of their own way. Be who you are. You know, the world will see you for who you are. The facade, the mask, the code switching, all that stuff that happens in real life, like, that's only going to get you a certain distance in your journey. So be who you are, and that's what's going to eventually, like, get you where you want to be.
Where can the people find out more about South Brunswick, the athletic department, and things like that?
We are sbvikings.com. That's our website. We have the SBHS Vikings Athletics app that can be found on Android or Apple platform. We have all our social medias. We are SB Vikings on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Those are all the spots that you can hit us at. I mean, we're excited to spread our brand awareness. We're excited to spread, like, our vision and our mission, which is to make sure kids have a great experience for the 4 years that they're with us and beyond.
100%. CJ Hendricks, everybody.
CJ Hendricks. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
That was awesome.